Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Through the Storm podcast, formerly known as The Other Side of Addiction. Hey, before we get started, I just want to say thank you to Dave and Susan Kenny with Emergo Academy. That's Emergo Academy. They are my coaches. They have been my coaches for about 3 years. I took their course to become certified as an international crisis and recovery coach. However, their training has actually done a lot more for me than just certified me as a coach. They have really helped me understand how to sit with my emotions, how to understand things, how to understand the lessons, that life throws at us. And they've just been a huge help. So if you guys aren't interested in becoming a certified crisis and recovery coach, but interested in making a change in your life, and I mean everyday life, I highly suggest checking out Emergo Academy. Again, that's Emergo Academy.com. Hey, I am looking forward to today's title. We've got the title is Healing the Emotional Pain. And I think this is really going to be a really good conversation. And it's with my friend Laura da Silva. And I just want to say thank you to our lovely friend Angie Martinez for connecting us. Thank you, Angie. I know we both love you to death. You are an amazing lady, have a heart the size of the universe. But Laura, thank you so much for taking time. We had a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, but hey, you got it all worked out. Everything's here. We're ready to rock and roll. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate being here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Healing the emotional pain, that could go in so many different directions. And I know you're the founder of Lighthouse Counseling Services, and you work with families and you work with so many other individuals who are suffering from all types of things. But again, that's why I say it can go in so many different directions because it just doesn't have to fit under addiction or trauma. I mean, it can go through mental health. It could go through, oh my gosh, work, just life in general, correct?
Correct. There's just so many things that happen in life that we all get emotional pain about, and um, they say that there's big T's and little T's of traumas. Little
Okay.
T's can be as little as somebody made fun of your shoes to a big trauma of witnessing a terrorist attack, or being in
Yeah.
that terrorist attack or whatnot. There's just so many different traumas that we all experience. And um and everything brings an emotion. Every experience that we have in life has an emotion attached to it.
Yeah.
And so healing our emotions and being able to, like you were saying earlier, learning how to sit with them is so important and to accept them instead of shoving them down, you
Yeah.
know.
Have you found with what you do that a lot of us we do shut ourselves down because of the fear of that shame, what somebody may think of us because like you said, which I think is it's such a cool way of saying it. There's the big T's and the little T's, because really there are little teeny things that somebody can still be traumatized by, which somebody else can say, what the hell's your problem? That ain't crap. But again, we are all so built differently and we all look at things so differently. And it seems like nowadays, even before we would shut ourselves down, we would lock ourselves in a closet or curl up in a ball. And now it's almost like people are just at each other's throats, trying to say that what I believe is the best way and what you believe sucks, or vice versa. And this is one of the reasons why I really do my best not to use that word belief because the word lie is in it, if you look
Mm,
at it. Because
that's
just
true.
because I believe something different than what you believe, it doesn't mean that I'm right. It just means that's how I was brought up, or this is just how I see my views. And it's the same with you. It doesn't mean that you're right or you're wrong. It's just this is how you look at things. And I have really thought about this a lot, even since my training. So many things, and I'll use this word belief, that I believe so strongly years ago, even probably even up to 6 months ago, I have really opened my mind and have gone, why the hell was I looking at it that way? Because there's so many different ways to look at it, but we get so stuck in our heads that this is the way it's going to be.
Right. It's so true. And I think that past experience adds to it too. So, kind of taking my example of the little t of somebody making fun of your shoes, maybe to somebody's like, so what? Somebody made fun of your shoes. However, the person that's seeing it as a traumatic experience has also been bullied by others before, and it's triggering that. And so it's just adding more to past traumas as well, or just creating more emotion to things. And
Yeah.
as we don't process those things, it just continues to build.
Yeah, I can build in something a lot larger than what it really started out to be because we
100%.
continue to Lego it, right? We continue to just keep adding pieces on pieces onto pieces until finally one day it crumbles. And a lot of times when that does, it puts us off in a whole different direction, which is usually not a good direction.
You're right. Right, for sure.
Yeah. What got you to do what you were doing now?
Um, so I've been working with after I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I was working with families and I was working in residential, and I just felt like a lot of the issues that we were coming across were like that Lego thing. Like if some of these things had just been resolved when the teen, when I worked in residential, was a child, then they wouldn't have such a big mole. Sorry, it's big Portuguese too. That was a Portuguese word coming out. Like a big hill of stuff. The Lego thing that you're talking about, the big Lego tower. And so I chose to really start working with children that are being exposed to things, that are being traumatized, and helping them get through their things so that they know how to emotionally regulate and have some more emotional resiliency as teens and as adults, because life just gets harder, right?
Hmm.
I have a kiddo that's going off to college here soon, and she's having to pay her tuition, and she got the sticker shock, and she's just like, what? You know? And so being able to have that ability to like emotionally regulate when you get sticker shocks in life, not just on like price things, but just things happening to you, helps you be so much stronger in being able to face the storm. I love that you have changed your logo.
Thank you.
Um, and that I remember when you were on my podcast and talking about that buffalo. So I love that you have the buffalo there. And just that analogy that buffalo, they just like run to the storm, they don't run away. And why? Because they have that emotional regulation and resiliency, and that confidence. I can get through this storm. And it's so important that everybody understand that they all have that. And
Mhm.
maybe some of your listeners are going, yeah, no, I don't. But you do. Everybody has that in them. And it's a matter of unburying things to find that sometimes.
And
Even that silver of glimmer of hope in there,
yeah.
and just running with it.
Well, we've buried so many things on top of us, right? I mean, it's like let's say you used to be a bowler and you threw your bowling bag in the closet, and then throughout the years you didn't bowl, but yet, you're throwing your jackets and all your other crap in there. And, I'm not saying everyone's closet's like this, but, pretty soon it's
Really?
buried. Yeah, really? And you just bury the stuff. And then one day you decide you're going to pick it up again and you're looking for the bowling ball. And it's a matter of unpacking everything out of that closet to get to it. It goes the same with the stuff that happens with us. So you're 100% correct. God has given us the ability to do whatever it is that we need to do. We are freaking amazing machines, and He has given us all of us He has given us talents. He has given us certain strengths. However, some people have a little bit more than what the other people do. It still doesn't mean that they don't have it. They still have it. It's just how do we work through it? And again, that's what I loved about the buffalo as well is, after losing my leg and then 4 weeks later losing my wife and just looking at life going, what the hell? And it's just getting through that storm, turning and facing it. And you said something about life, and I know my friend Todd Sylvester uses this a lot, and I've seen some of his shows and people using it. My guest last week actually mentioned it, and I'm with it 100%. It's life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. And when we can look at it that way, at least for me, it has really helped me get through a lot of my trialing times. And it's really helped me too plus with my training, to sit with my emotions and go, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling the way that I am feeling? Because it's come from somewhere, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't I don't think anybody, and I could be wrong. I don't think anybody can make us feel a certain way. It's how we perceive it. If somebody said, Al, you're a dumbass, and I took that and ran with it, I'd be saying I'm a dumbass the rest of my life. If somebody says, "How come you couldn't figure this out?" Well, it's because I'm a dumbass. I just don't have it. But really, if somebody said that to me and I went, "Well, that's your opinion," I'm
Right.
just going to go on with how I see my life. We still have those choices.
Yeah. And I like that you're bringing up that nobody makes us feel anything. And I think that that is one of the errors that we have in the English language. And like, there's got to be some other way to say this. Like, uh, you know, he made me do that. He made me feel this way. And it's like, nobody made you do
Mhm.
nothing. You know, you chose whether to feel that way. Did you choose to like take on that label that somebody's giving you? Or do you choose not to take that label and go on your merry way, you know?
Yeah.
But and I'm not dismissing that there are times, there are relationships, unfortunately, out there that hammer that crap in day after day, hour after hour. And that emotional resiliency gets broken down. And will not dismiss that that happens because it does. It's very true. Gaslighting is just horrible, belittling, contempt, everything. Um, but it's like the bowling ball that's just in there. It's just getting piled on with a lot of heaviness and a lot of crap. Um, and, but as one can unload all that emotional burden, they can find that bowling ball once again, you know?
Yeah. And it's all about those little baby steps, right? So again, if we go back to that analogy of the closet, it takes picking up one little thing at a time and putting it off to the side. It's not like you can just go in there and wrap all your arms around it. Maybe you can and just grab the huge pile, but most of the time it doesn't work that way. At least that's how I found with my experiences is it's just those little teeny baby steps. And I know sometimes there were times when really, Laura, I felt like I was just moving in place, like nothing, like I was putting in
Mhm.
all this effort and all this work and I wasn't getting anywhere. But it's just because I was just taking these little baby steps. But really, I was getting somewhere. I was just starting to, you know, throw that guilt again back on myself, going, why am I doing this? It's not changing anything. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy because I've had discussions with people where they've just really, really struggled. And they just feel like throwing in a towel. And believe me, I've been there myself many, many, many times. And
I
it's
believe
like,
probably many of us have, if not
right?
everybody.
Probably everyone. Yeah.
Right.
But again, as long as we keep going, it's crazy because someone that I was talking to here has just really been struggling the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I got a phone call yesterday from this individual, and things have just completely switched. And to hear the joy in this individual's life was so freaking awesome. I mean, I got teary eyed just really hearing this individual because I'm like, okay, is this changing your perspective of how you've seen life the last couple of weeks? You know, and really it can change either direction that fast. And it's just as long as I think we still keep standing ourselves up and dusting ourselves off every time we fall and doing our best to stay moving forward, not back. Even if we stay in place for a little while, that's still okay, right?
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever played the game Uno Attack?
I have not. Uh-uh.
So I love playing Uno Attack in therapy because in Uno Attack, it's got this machine that
Uh-oh. We froze up and we were doing so flipping good too. We were just about even 20 minutes into it. Oh no. Okay, let's hope Laura gets back on screen here. We'll stay recording and hope that she is able to pop back up. Excuse me. Anyway, I think we're having a great conversation on really healing the emotional pain and so many things that we can allow into our lives to actually burden us even more. Life is hard enough as it is. I know, man, there's been lots of storms that have been thrown my way, and I'm sure a lot of you guys who are listening to this show has had just as many, if not more. And you guys have heard me say this many, many times. Life likes to throw shit balls at us, and sometimes we're okay, and sometimes we're not. And she is back. I've just been talking to my screen to myself, and I knew that you'd be coming back. So awesome. Anyway, we're talking about the Uno. So,
so okay, I don't know where we left off, so I'm gonna just pick up at the
okay.
playing Uno.
Oh my gosh, it just did it again.
In
Okay, you're going in and out.
you draw one card at a time. When you can't go, you problems in life. And how do you get rid of them? One at a time. Get rid of all your greens. And so sometimes you can get rid of a lot of problems at one time. And in Uno Attack, though, there's a button you push instead of drawing. And sometimes it won't shoot any cards at you. And sometimes it'll shoot up to 15 cards at you. And so we talk about how that's like life. Sometimes it's just like one day you woke up and found out you had to have your leg amputated. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like 15 cards, right? Because it didn't just affect your legs, it affected everything, right?
Yeah.
I recently woke up one day and my doctor called and told me I had several tumors, which then led me down to the road of ovarian cancer, which thank goodness I am in remission. So
Awesome.
yeah, but it life just can throw you so many Uno cards at one time. And we can either just go, I quit, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't take care of your problems. And sometimes it's throwing their problems out to somebody else to take care of. And they've already got their own Uno cards to deal with, right? And so being able to go, okay, I've got this. Right now, we're playing red card. I can get rid of my red cards. You can't do anything about your blue or yellow when you're playing the red unless it's the same number, right?
Yeah.
And so just go, okay, what can I take care of right now? And sometimes there's nothing you can do. You have to just sit back for a minute and let the universe take care of it for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do something, but you're just so overwhelmed that turning it over to the universe is not a bad idea. Just saying, God, please just take this. Please help me. And he can step in and have somebody help you. There's just so much help that you really have out there. And
And
maybe it's turning to a friend. Hey,
yeah,
can you help me out with this? You know, because even in Uno, you're the other players, even though they're trying to win, beat you, they're also helping you.
huh. That's interesting.
Because if they didn't put down that blue three, you wouldn't have a card to play. So you're like, oh, good, thank you for putting a three down. Now I can put my red one, right?
Yeah. And I love that you said that and used this analogy, because as soon as you started talking about and the different colors, it reminded me of a video that I saw yesterday
Mm-hmm.
with Matthew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like how he looks at life and how he's really studied a lot of things. And, he's talking about, he's like, life is like a traffic light. You got your red, you got your yellow, and you got your green. And sometimes staying stopped is the best place to be. And other times you just got to go in lightly, like a yield. You're with the yellow, you're just kind of yielding through it. And then there's other times you can go full board once you get the green light. And I've been rewriting this talk, and because a lot of my talks I've shared about the same story. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to continue to share the same story. I want to change it up a little bit. And I'm actually using Through the Storm and the Bison as an example. And in my talk, I wrote at a point where it says, I spent the majority of my life running from my problems, running from the storms. And I realized I wasn't. I was extending it. I was adding to it by not being able to sit with it or not being able to go through the storm. It's just like if you're trying to run away from the storm and the storm's coming and you're going this way, eventually it catches up with you and it stays with you longer, to where if it was going vice versa, you're going to get through it a little quicker, and it still may be nasty. I got a picture of this buffalo who just went through a blizzard, and it's like he's got icicles hanging off, off all the hair, and you can only hardly see one eye because it's just all covered in snow, but it's like, my gosh, look, he made it through it. He made it through it and he's still alive. And anyway, I just think it's pretty cool that you use that, Uno, not but Uno.
Well, and I think sometimes too, though, sometimes we are going through the storm and it's okay if we stay still, but having fun with it at the same time, right? I thought about like this storm that I was in as I was like reenacting Pioneer Days. We got hit with a hailstorm and we saw it coming. We're like, we were about to go down a muddy hill too.
Oh
And
man.
that was the only thing that we could do. Like we could not go around the muddy hill. We were going to have to go through, but we saw the storm coming. We're going, we can't go down that hill in the storm. So we sat the storm out and it held on us. And we're like in hand carts. We don't even have covered wagons. Luckily I had an umbrella, which I don't think the pioneers had, but hey, I did.
Yeah,
And we had a
good
tarp,
call.
and we laughed through it instead of going, we're going to have to go down this muddy hill. We're going to slip and slide. And we're going to look at all these things that are going wrong. And just being able to laugh through it instead. When I had to shave my head for my chemotherapy, but you don't have to shave your head, just to clarify. But it's better. So I had cut my hair short. It was really long prior. And I cut it short and I donated my hair to the Locks of Love. Because I'm like, if I can't have it, let's give it to some kid that they can make a wig for, right?
Yeah.
And then I chose to shave my head instead of letting my hair fall out in clumps. And then your head also gets really tender. So shaving your head is just the best option. And I had two choices. We can either cry through this or we can laugh through this. So we had a blast. My kids, I have a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, and 18-year-old at home. I let them get color hairspray and they colored my head, all my hair, and We did like the Home Alone look with a beanie with a hole with feathers all over. We did like 10 different funny pictures, and it was at Christmas time, so I put like a nose, a Rudolph nose on my head and put antlers, and they put beads all over my head. So we can either laugh through it or we can cry through it.
Yeah.
And now because we laughed through it, it was a positive experience. It's not one that we will have to unburden later. We just get to still giggle through it, you know? And then as I lost my hair, we continued to have fun with it. And I started having these little spikes all over. And so I took the picture of the Toy Story toy, the creepy doll with the little
Yeah.
um
Like crab leg type.
little legs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And with AI, put my head on it. And we continued just to laugh through it. And, you know, so laughter is the best medicine, you know.
Well, and I really do feel it does help our healing when it comes to the emotional pain,
Yeah.
and um it's so crazy because I saw a video that somebody did that basically says there's no such thing as trauma, that it's just all in our minds. And at first I just thought, is this really, really so? But Dr. Gabor, he talks about trauma and really how the trauma is stored in our bodies. And,
Mhm.
and one good thing too that he says about trauma is it doesn't mean that we have to spend the rest of our lives in it. We can,
Right.
it's always going to be there. I mean, it's like the book Body Keeps the Score. Our body
Right.
knows it's there. However, again, God has given us the ability to work through it if we choose to work through it. So I
Yeah.
would think with what you and your kids did by doing that, that had to have helped you, or maybe not, but it sounds like it did help you get through that emotional pain because that's a huge thing to be hit with.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, it's true. Those things help get through those hard times.
Yeah. And you work a lot with the recovery pe people in the recovery community as well, right? You have people that come to you with certain addictions and things like that. Um, how do you help them get through that stuff?
Sorry, we're having a little connection issue,
Yeah, it looks like
but
you froze up again. Okay, so you
yeah.
you work a lot also with people in recovery. Is that correct?
Most of the addictions that we see are around like pornography.
Okay.
Um, and sometimes we will have people that are like are recovering from substance abuse. But at our clinic, we're outpatient, and so we don't do like have like intense addiction
Okay.
uh, with substance abuse.
And the reason why
So
I brought it up, because in your bio, you talked about recovery is about more than breaking a habit. And I
mhm,
really like
sure.
that because I feel I mean, I look at it that way as well. It's the habit is at least how I see it. The habit is just the band-aid.
Right.
You're suffering from something different. It's just
Yeah.
that you're using this to help you get through what you need to get through.
Right. It's habits are a self-soothing technique, really. And it's like, so what are you feeling prior to engaging in um, your habits? And maybe it's like somebody comes home from work and gets drunk every night. What's going on at work? Or what's going on at home that you're trying to avoid? It could be you hate your job, it's super stressful, your boss is laying on you all the time, you know. Um, is it that? Or is it when you come home, you're coming home to an empty house, or your spouse is not there for you emotionally, you know, or maybe it's a habit that you picked up as a teenager because your parents weren't there for you, it became this is how I ignore what I'm feeling
Yeah.
or whatnot, as just as an example, there's just so many different ways. And, if you think about it, and addiction doesn't just stop with substance abuse and alcohol and pornography, but there's addictions to food, there's addictions to video games, everybody um, has some sort of addiction. When I was in my graduate courses, we took a course on addiction, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to pick an addiction that you have and stop." Like he was trying to having us see how going cold turkey is not the easiest way to
Right.
stop an addiction, you know. But it helped us like understand like why do we do what we do, and
Yeah.
just really trying to uncover all these things to help us. It's not about just stopping.
Right. And again, and it's not that easy. It doesn't matter what the addiction is.
Right.
It really isn't that easy. I remember my late wife told me once, you know, when she had relapsed and I was still at the point where I'm like, why can't you just stop? Just fricking stop. I just don't understand, right?
Am I
And
not enough for you?
right. And it's like
Right.
she's like, it's not that easy. And I'm like, bullshit. How can I mean, again, it was at the start of it. I didn't know. I didn't understand. And then she told me, she goes, what if I told you you could never have ice cream the rest of your life again? Because I love ice cream. I'm a freaking ice cream fanatic. And I've done my best not to eat it every night. And I've worked hard on not to eat it every night. And I didn't understand it at the time. And at first I'm like, well, that's different. No, it wasn't. It was really the same thing. I mean, she had a very, very good point, because she's looking, well, gosh, I can never go to a concert and not drink again. I can never go out to a barbecue and not drink again. I couldn't go to a party and not drink again. She's looking at it that way. And it would be like, my gosh, how would it be if I could not ever have a bowl of ice cream again? Especially if I drove by Leatherby's or Baskin and Robbins or even just walking in the store, going down the frozen aisle. I'd probably be drooling if I didn't have ice cream for 2 months. And it's like, my gosh, she has such a really good point on that. And it isn't easy. Now, not saying that is a healthier addiction because it's still really not a good healthy addiction, especially when you're eating it every night. I would smear peanut butter all over it just to use that excuse as that's my protein. I'm getting my protein in. However, it still wasn't that healthy. But yeah, you are completely right. It is definitely any addiction is hard to break. And it's cool that your teacher or your professor said it that way. Just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
And even going back to where you said, maybe the issue is having a hard time at work. You know, I ended up losing a 24-year career because, I spent every weekend for 8 years snorting cocaine and drinking. The first time I went to a party and did a line, hadn't done one in many, many, many years. And it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about work for once, not once. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
I actually enjoyed myself on a weekend because I was always stressed out over the weekend, knowing what I had to do come Monday and made sure that I was on top of it. And when I started doing that, next thing I knew, it became such a habit. It was every single freaking weekend, every Friday and Saturday. That was
Mm.
my release to get myself away from reality. You know, again, I wasn't running away from it. I was extending it because it just kept
Yeah.
going, it kept going and kept going and kept going and kept building. Because even if I
Right.
ran out on a Friday, I was calling to get more so I could finish out my Friday. But once Saturday hit and Saturday was done and Sunday came, everything stopped and I was off back in business again. But still, there's so many things and I feel that if a lot of us would open up our minds a little bit to what other people are going through too and have a little bit more empathy, I think it would help them a little bit more to understand that it's not the drugs and alcohol or the porn or the gambling or the eating or the gaming, the shopping, the work. It doesn't matter. It's just we're using that so we don't have to sit with our emotions and feel those emotions. We don't want to feel them, and so we do our best to run from them.
Yeah. And even with that, one thing that is important for addicts to look at um, is so in bipolar disorder, they have like this increase in their their manic phase. That's really where they're engaging in any like risky behaviors. And then later they have a drop where they're into this depressive phase. So if any of your listeners are going, well, there's times that my addiction's harder, whereas other times it's not, consider checking to see if there's any bipolar disorder happening as well.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay.
Because during that depressive phase, they're less likely to engage in their addictions. But if there's bipolarness happening, that addiction might be stronger than other times. So
That's good to know. Huh. Yeah, that's very interesting. What are your thoughts on someone who's been dealing with life and the curveballs, or like I like to say on the show, I call them shit balls. Life throws shit balls at us. And as I say all the time, sometimes we dodge a few and sometimes it hits square in the face, but what are your thoughts on really rebuilding the trust? And I'm not just meaning rebuilding trust with our friends and our loved ones, but rebuilding the trust within ourselves.
yeah, that is so important because really it's hard for anybody to trust us if we can't trust ourselves. And one of the things to do is to not beat yourself up constantly because we fall into our habits and then we're just like, oh my gosh, I suck. I will never pull out of this. And and we just start beating ourselves up. And so noticing the positives in us as well. And
Mm,
the efforts, I woke up with great intentions today. I did slip up. But you know what? I made it till 3 o'clock today. That's better than the 10 o'clock yesterday. And so being able to give ourselves credit for what we do accomplish, um, there's so many different like things that you can do based on whether you're, this might sound kind of silly. Because some adults, when I talk to them about doing these things, they're just like, I'm not a child, but it works. Having a tracking sheet, and we give ourselves stars, and maybe it's like for every 2 hours that I go without engaging in my addiction, I get to put a star on my tracking sheet. Depending on like what you need. Like if it's something you're struggling with constantly throughout the day, every 2 hours is great. Maybe it's every 15 minutes,
yeah.
depending on what the struggle is. And I actually wouldn't say 15 minutes because usually if you can get through the first 20 minutes of that temptation, you're most likely not to engage. And so just sitting with it for that 20 minutes and going, okay, why do I feel this way or whatnot, or maybe distraction. Anyway, so a reward chart. Once I get X amount of stars, I get to reward myself by going to see this movie I want to see. And it can't be I'm going to reward myself by getting a drink. No.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And those visuals also help us go, look what I did. Instead of, look what I'm not doing, but look what I did do. I know a lady that would call her to-do list her to-do list. She had been in an accident and she was quadriplegic, and she would create these to-do lists, and then at the end of the day going, look at everything I didn't do. And so then she changed it to her to-do list, as she would cross things off and go, ta-da, look what I did do, you know, instead of looking at what she didn't do. Um, I had another, so I met this lady once, just amazing, this system that she created for herself for when she wanted to like go into her addictions. She created stations throughout her house. She
Mm.
had a reading station, and it was set up with like a little library and a sitting area. And so that's her reading station. Then she had her art station, and it had all of her favorite art supplies and everything ready for her to go. Then she had her baking station so she could go and bake something, you know. And so she just took her different hobbies and created stations throughout her house instead of going, okay, well, now I got to gather all my supplies. She could go, you know what? I'm feeling tempted. So right now I am going to go do some art. And so she would go to her art station, and it helped her reduce those temptations to fall into her addiction.
I love that. So basically she's regenerating new neurons, right? She's firing different neurons. And the more that she did it, of course, it's strengthening that and weakening the others.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Have you seen the documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know?
I have not.
You'll have to check that one out. But it talks about those neurons, how the longer they have a relationship together, the stronger they are. But we also know that neurons, that we can change the that relationship with those neurons, and being able to change it so that they're not firing together.
Hmm. Basically, it's like unplugging it, unplugging the vacuum and putting it in a different outlet, right?
Right, right. It's a good way to think of it for sure.
Ah,
Except for that outlet now gives it a different energy to do the same thing.
yeah,
So, um, in my practice, we use EMDR. Are you familiar with that?
just a little bit. Yes.
Okay. So, in EMDR, it talks about how the our emotions are stored in our body, but it's those negative emotions. So, like if you think of negative things that have happened in your life, you can feel them.
Oh yeah.
But if you think of happy things, you can't feel them. And it's more of a pleasant thought, more than a feeling. And so in EMDR, we help the mind take those memories, whether they're conscious or subconscious, and help the brain reprocess them and put them away correctly so they're no longer triggers. And the amazing thing with EMDR is all studies that have been done on EMDR show that nobody goes back to therapy for the same issue. And so, as you've taken that coat off that bowling ball and it's like you've donated it. It's not like you've hung it up and there's a chance that it's going back again.
Yeah.
And in traditional talk therapy, we're just hanging the jacket back up. Whereas in EMDR, we're just going to get rid of that jacket. And so we can get down to the bowling ball, using your analogy.
Yeah.
And it's like we have like this bowling ball, and then we have all these different things that have added to it. And so in EMDR, we're addressing them and getting to that bowling ball and really taking care of that. So I've been practicing EMDR for 10 years, and I have clients that just bawl after, and they're just like, I have been trying to work through this for the last 20 years, and you just did this in 2 sessions. It's just so amazing. It's like our brains are wanting to heal, and we really
Yes.
need to give them that time and that space to heal.
Well, it
Our
is
bodies don't want to carry around all that heaviness.
no, because it knows it's not good for it, and
Right,
it's like you just said, we feel it, right? Our bodies are such an amazing machine because our bodies can tell us when things aren't right.
right.
I mean, it really does, even if it is feeling that emotion, right? I mean, yeah, when you can learn how to unpack and donate those things, it's so much better. And sometimes it takes a little while, you know, but
And it's hard.
and it's hard, and I've mentioned this on the show a few times, at the end of last year, I was really struggling with some things. I was really struggling with feeling like I was being rejected, and especially by women. It was driving me freaking nuts. And it's like, why am I
Mhm.
feeling this? Because I'm not saying that I was, it's just this is how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And I was doing my best to use my coaching and stuff to help me get through this. And I ended up taking a trip to Idaho and went and stayed with a friend at her cabin, for a weekend. And she took me out and was showing me all the sights and everything and fed me really, really well. She's an amazing cook. She's just awesome.
Mhm.
Got to spend time talking to her dad because her dad lives with her and hearing some of his old stories. And even when I left, I was still like, my gosh, it's still with me. This is why I went on the trip, was to help kind of get rid of it, right? Donate it to Idaho. And, I left Utah. I'm going to go donate it to Idaho and I'll come back to Salt Lake and everything will be great. And it took me some time. It took me some time to figure out where it was coming from. And it literally came back all the way when I was 7.
Mm.
And here I am in my 60s, and it has stayed with me pretty much my entire life because I was
Yeah.
crippled when I was a little boy, and so I got teased a lot in school. I was always the last one that got picked to, for recess to play kickball or anything because no one wanted to
Mm.
cripple the kid with the brace, you know, because they
Yeah.
he can't run very fast. I could kick the hell out of the ball, I just couldn't run very fast,
Yeah.
and I started realizing that's where it was coming from. My subconscious had stored that all this time. And anytime things didn't quite go a certain way, or basically not that, but just where I'm feeling like I'm not being picked for a team, those emotions, and I would feel those emotions, I mean, very, very heavy. I mean, it was like a pit in my stomach for weeks.
Mm.
And once I figured it out, I donated that pit. Because every once in a while that subconscious mind will still bring it up, but when it does now, I'm like, oh, I know where this is coming from, don't need it anymore, and toss it away again. It's almost like a boomerang. Every once in a while it comes back to you, but you can catch it this time and understand it and just get rid of it again.
Yeah. I think one thing that a lot of people, a myth that a lot of people put bank in is getting a fresh start.
Mm,
And so they'll move away physically to somewhere else, going, I need a fresh start. And then they're unpacking their home and they're like, how did this box come? I was leaving all this behind. But you can't just move locations and think that your emotions got left behind
right.
because they're in that box that you were trying to get rid of. I thought I burned that stuff. You didn't. It's still there because you haven't, it comes with you, you know, and so it's important um, to realize what you can do with where you're at and draw strength on that.
Well, and
Yeah, I feel like a buffalo running towards a storm gets tired too.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but it's like, okay, I'm gonna maybe like jog for a second here, you know, instead of running,
yeah.
but keep moving, you know.
Well, and
So
you said something very important, Laura, just a little bit ago about celebrating it, celebrating every single win. It doesn't have to be a big win. And I think the majority of us out there, again, I'm just as guilty of it, is we're waiting for something big, major to happen so we can celebrate it and get excited. When really, at least with my experience, it's those smaller wins that are the most exciting. I think, at least for me, they have really outweighed the bigger wins. And maybe because I feel like it's taken a lot more work and it's taken a lot more strength to get each one of those little teeny wins compared to have one big one happen, you
Right.
know. Um, and I feel like so many of us we just don't do that, because when we can celebrate every single little teeny win, and and I love that, you talked about, um gosh, I didn't use for 24 hours, celebrate instead of beating yourself up. And it reminded me of
Right.
that I had on my show like 5 years ago. And he battled with a porn addiction. And he was actually getting ready to commit suicide because he's
Mm.
just like, I'm not able to beat this thing. For 2 decades, I've battled with it. I've just not been
Yeah.
able to do it. And he was getting ready to commit suicide, said a prayer before he did. And he basically said he heard a voice that says, well, you didn't use for 2 days, because they use the same kind of verbiage as somebody that drinks or uses. And he got thinking about it, and he ended up going back to the hotel, called his wife, flew his wife in to where he was at on a business trip. And they sat in the hotel and they talked. And he said literally what helped him get through his addiction is he started celebrating the days that he didn't, instead of beating himself up for the days that he did. And he said before he knew it, he was 10 years in.
Wow.
And I'm like, I mean, I got God bumps over here, even just thinking about it. Like, that is such a cool thing, instead of
Right.
beating yourself up, like what we do to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
He started going, well, wait a minute. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to celebrate. And he wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
celebrate by going that he was used, that he used again, but he just celebrated that he went a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And again, before he knew it, well, it's well over 10 years now for this person. But I'm like, that is such a cool way of saying, and you just mentioned it today during the show, about celebrating and giving yourself kudos for these times. Oh, did we freeze up again? I'm hoping she comes back, because we're just about done with the show.
Those kudos are so important.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay, Laura? You froze up. I'm hoping you're going to come back here for at least 5 more minutes. Uh, let's hope she comes back on. Oh, she's off, but hopefully she'll come right back on. Anyway, I hope you guys are understanding what's being said here in today's show. Oh, look, she's gonna be coming right back on. There
Here I
she,
am.
there we got. All right,
So,
yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, we only have like about 5 minutes left. Please start working. Anyway, I heard you say the kudos mean a lot or something like that.
oh yeah, and I was saying, we talked about doing having gratitude journals. Why
Yeah,
not a kudos journal? And just celebrate your successes. Like every day, write down what did I do good today? Um, how did I overcome my addiction? And you know, um, but you can also look at like it doesn't even have to be surrounding your addiction because there could also be other things that are happening that you don't realize are connected to it. So just give yourself um, kudos for every win that you have during the day instead of going, well, look at everything I didn't do.
yeah.
You know,
I love
don't
that.
write those down.
I love the
You
kudos.
can you can take like a black journal, a journal with a black cover, go to the dollar store or whatever, get a notebook that has a black cover. And if you really need to write down those things that you didn't do instead of shoving them down, write them in that black journal. But don't write the good ones in that journal. Put that
Yeah.
in your kudos journal. And then you take that paper and you destroy it instead of letting it eat at you. Whether that's you're gonna like burn it in a safe way, um, crumple it up, tear it up, throw it in a shredder, whatever, destroy that one
Yes.
because we don't want to focus on those, but you're letting them out still instead of just shoving them down.
That,
So,
that's I love how you're talking about that. Have a kudos journal, but have a black book, but rip that page out. Don't keep it in the book. Just rip that page out and then completely destroy it because it really, I mean, I think science has even shown this, right? When you do that, you are actually destroying whatever it is that you wrote down. By first of all, you're
mhm.
getting it out of you and you're writing it down, and then you're completely getting rid of it, just like what you mentioned earlier. Instead of hanging it up, just get rid of it, donate it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there's a belief about the new moon and such. And
Hmm.
so I don't know a whole lot of that. So, but if that's a good time to burn yours too, do it. But
Yeah.
don't be reading them. Don't let anybody read them. You don't want those nasty dragons in anybody, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Gosh, the hour goes by so flipping quick. It's crazy because it seems like we're only in like 30 minutes. And then I check the time and it's like, oh crap, we're already in at 50 minutes. But we're just about 5 minutes away from the end of the show. What is something that you feel that you could share with our listeners that would just let's go this way. I have a routine that I do every morning. And it really helps my day go. It just really sets my day off in the right direction. What are your thoughts on that for our listeners? I mean, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How do you see that?
Of having a morning routine to set your day up.
A positive one, yeah.
Yeah. So, for about 10, 15 years prior to my cancer, I got up at 4:30 in the morning. And people are like, "What the crap are you doing? Why would you get up at 4:30?" And I'm like, "To set my day up." I get up, I read scriptures, I exercise, I studied mindset, and I prepped my meals for the day. And then it was time to get the kids off to school. Those are my sacred hours. So, in October, I had a surgery that put me in bed for 5 weeks. And because my body was recovering, I was like, "Okay, we're not doing the morning routine. I'm
Right.
especially not getting up and exercising. That's not happening." My 5-minute walk was enough every 2 hours. And, and then going through chemo, I chose not to get up early, in order to let my body recover. We've gotta really be patient with our bodies as well, right?
Hmm.
Um, and but I swear by the morning routine. And so 3 weeks after I finished chemo, I'm back to getting up at 4:30.
Wow.
But then there's times that I'm like, I do need a nap later, and it's okay. But that morning routine is so important. Um, and and people might be like, how does that really set up your day? So I want to challenge your listeners to even just getting up and making your bed. Making your bed can
Hmm.
set up your day. As small as that sounds, you will see a difference. Um, but even if you want to get up 2, 3 hours before you really need to, so that you can have control of your day of how you want it to start instead of getting up and running off to work. And now you've given control to work, um, in that way, of how your day is going to start. Um, just getting up 15 minutes earlier, 30 minutes earlier. And there's some mornings I don't get up till 5:30, and it's okay. I'm not going to be like, well, there goes my day because I got up an hour late. Or even today, I actually didn't get up till 9, I will admit, but I was out till midnight. And in the past, I'd be like, well, that just means I get 4.5 hours of sleep. But right now, with recovering,
Yeah.
I'm like, my body needs that extra. So it's okay, and
Yep.
it's okay. So,
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that because I mean it really has changed my life and we did a lot of that in our training, right? It's just being able to wake up every morning and know, and again, you don't have to start out with anything big. Like you said, it's just even making your bed. For me, I like to get up and I look at myself in the mirror eye to eye. And, the first thing I do is thank God for waking me up. Thank you for allowing me to put 2 feet on the ground, even though one of them is fake. I still get to put 2 feet on the ground.
Hey, at least we have modern technology to give you that
Right,
fake
right.
one.
And I just
That's
have these things
gratitude.
that I tell myself and just say, that I'm grateful for. And it really does help get my day going. And it's just made such a big change. And again, to even go back about the wins, even at the beginning of every single one of our training sessions, our coaches would go through and ask each one of us, what was your win for the day or for the week? Because we had training every Tuesday and Thursday. And it was really cool to hear what everybody's answers were. I mean, some people just said, oh my gosh, a win was that I was sitting on my patio having a cup of coffee and a hummingbird flew by or
All
sat
right.
in front of me, right? It could be something just like that. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be anything big. And it really got all of us thinking when we would go around and you could hear what everyone's win was,
Yeah.
for them. So, Laura, thank you
Wonderful.
so much for taking
Thank
time out of
you.
your afternoon or your morning and afternoon to be on here. And even though we had a few little glitches, sometimes that happens on the show.
We
I
just keep moving forward.
just keep going forward. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it still worked out. You only left for just a very short time and then back on. But again, thank you for taking time out. And I'm so happy to see that you're doing so well because I think the last time when I was on your show, you were just kind of starting with a lot of stuff that was coming to you, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
I actually
Yeah,
got diagnosed about a month after that.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you again for taking time. And I just want to say thank you again to all our past guests and all our future guests, man. I'm just so grateful to have so many of you guys reach out to me and want to be a part of this show. And I want to say thank you to Emergo Academy again, Dave and Susan Kenny, for wanting to be just amazing coaches, not wanting to be. You are amazing coaches and for supporting through the storm. I greatly appreciate it. Some of some of my new logo, I got help from Dave and Susan on it, and it was just a matter of different people kind of tweaking, and this is what we ended up coming up with, which was cool. So there's a lot of people that have their hands into this new logo. I just want to say thank you. And most of all, I want to say thank you to all our listeners. Thank you guys for listening to the show. It makes me feel really good when you're at a recovery event and people come up and go, hey, you're Al, you're the one that does the podcast. I listened to your show and it just makes me feel so good. And it's not that they're listening to me, right? This is not what I'm saying, but they're listening to
Content.
the guests, and the message behind everything. And I love it when they say, oh my gosh, this guest that you had shared this and it really helped me with my day or really helped me with my life. So before we sign off, guys, be sure to mark your calendars. October 3rd at the Miller Free Enterprise Building in Sandy, we're holding our 6th Healing Utah Success Summit. We've got some great speakers. We just added one more speaker to our menu per se, and we've got a great opening. I'm going to be posted on social media here pretty soon who our opening people are, our act that's going to start the show off. But again, October 3rd, it's a Saturday at the Miller Free Enterprise. Doors open at 9. The event will start at 10. We've got some great people coming in. So, guys, we would love to have you out there. We're going to leave you with this. This is a new ending for me, so be patient with me as I get used to saying it. Remember, the storm isn't here to stop you, it's here to reveal you. Don't run from it, walk through it. Because on the other side isn't just survival, it's the person you were always meant to become. Until next time, keep walking through the storm. We're out.